and welcome back to Blind Love. So we are back right where we left off. Maybe it was because I got to spend time with Sarah. Maybe it was because I finally got out of the house. I knew the answer deep down. Regardless, I held on to that enjoyment mentally before letting Sarah break my thoughts.
Mind if I ask you something?
I don't like where this is going, but sure. I turned my head slightly to Sarah, surprised at the question. Why was she asking if I minded? She was free to ask anything with me. What made whatever was on her mind change her? I replied anyway, wanting to see where this was going to go. Jeez. Huh? Sure. What is it? I don't like where this is going. I waited. What did she want to ask me? It sounded important just from her tone, but she remained silent. Sarah?
Sorry, it's stupid.
Just ask it. Just tell me. I'm sure it's not stupid. All right. Come on. If it was important to her, I was willing to hear her out. She didn't have to hide anything from me unless it was really something she didn't want to say. Is she about to break up with us? Sarah let out a sigh before speaking again.
Can I be honest with you?
Sure. Where did this come from? Always? What's going on? I heard Sarah sigh slightly in depression before continuing.
I've been thinking about us.
Yep, I knew it. About us?
Yeah. Whether or not what I'm doing and what you're doing is... How do I say it?
Sarah? Are you having...
No, it's not that. I'm just...
Silence lingered in the air, filling me with a small form of dread. Was this really happening? We didn't even get to Gala yet, and here she was dropping a scary bomb.
I feel like I'm babying you when I shouldn't be, yet I can't help it. I want to... I really don't know how to say this.
Well, just spit it out instead of stumbling over your words. I hate when people say they want to say something, and then they don't want to say something. When you encourage them to say it, they do anything in their power not to say it anyways. Like, if you want to say something or ask something, you either say it or ask it. Don't make a big deal out of it, because otherwise there's no point of bringing it up.
There are times I wonder if you'll be able to help me as I help you. If I'm in trouble, will you be there? I think about this all the time, and yet I know the answer.
How can you say that? You know I'll always be there for you.
Will you?
I promise. I'm here now, right? A small chuckle from her direction made a smile grow on my face. She was concerned. It was natural in a relationship to think of these doubts.
Yes, you are here now.
Maybe that should be your sign.
My sign?
I moved my hand to try and find hers on the steering wheel. Sarah let out a small gasp before moving her hand and gently nudging it against mine. I took her hand and gave it a loving squeeze. The fact that I'm still here, alive, should be your sign. If we weren't meant to be together, I don't think we would be here together in the same car right now. I didn't want to make her upset, since she was already fragile about the memory. However, as her hand gently squeezed mine, I smiled. She understood and knew that I was telling the truth. We continued holding hands during the car ride to the gala. It must be hard to hold hands and drive at the same time. Eventually, we finally slowed and parked the car. I assumed we had arrived, so as the car was turned off, I unbuckled my seatbelt and exited the car. You didn't have to slam the door. I stood by the car door, holding out my arm for Sarah and waiting for her to circle around the vehicle. As her arm looped under mine, I gently pulled her close to me, and began to walk. I think that's the ambience of the game. Sarah led the way. Sarah led the way, but we were at last at the gala. Faint sound of chatter slowly began to go louder with each step that we took. God, why are these reading games such a pain in the arse? As Sarah suddenly stopped walking, maybe it's because I gotta actually read, and a lot of games I play are story-based. I recoiled back a bit to try and stop. Sarah supported me to staying upright, but I knew something was up. What is...
Hey!
It's Josh! Josh's voice reverberated through the air in one direction, forcing me to look in its direction. A pair of footsteps made their way to us, making me assume that he had come to greet us.
It's been a while.
That it has. You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Introduce you. Oh, you mean Sarah.
Thank you.
Dang it. Josh. I held my arm out in the direction I thought he was and felt him take it, affirming my thoughts. We shook hands, and he chuckled.
So have you finally given up on the life of being a recluse?
All thanks to you! Don't count on it just yet. Let's just see how tonight goes. It's been months since I've been out, after all.
Very true. Well, I certainly am glad you're here. People have been asking about you like crazy.
Yeah? Adjust his tie? What do you say? So what have you been telling them? That's because you talk about me all the time. Oh, okay, that's probably true. Really? What have people been asking?
Oh, mainly about where you've been. Obviously, I couldn't tell them all of the details, but I told them enough to stop any gossip.
That's enough to probably start anything. A true friend to the end, aren't you?
Always. Can't let one of the best writers in the world have mindless gossip hovering over his good name. Especially when everyone here knows about you.
You know, there's going to be gossip regardless. Maybe not from my supporters, but probably from, like, people that don't like me. Are you serious?
Yeah. I may have talked about your upcoming book at a couple of interviews.
How dare you?
Maybe a little famous.
You've been talking about his book? It hasn't even come out yet on his blog.
I couldn't help it. The last couple of chapters were so interesting. I had to rev up some hype for it.
I mean, I do the same thing, so... My chest began to tighten in nervousness. It was my first book, and yet now everyone here assumingly knew about it before it even came out. I mean, that is not really I guess it's probably not a good thing, because then the people won't get excited when it comes out, but it might get them more excited when it does come out. Who knows? I expected some formality with the other guests, but to be known for a hyped book, I couldn't stop the nerves in my body from quaking. Luckily, Sarah gently squeezed my arm, calming me down with her touch. It was good to have her by my side to keep me grounded.
Still, you should have asked about publicly talking about the book first before revealing anything.
I mean, that is true. That's why a lot of movie scripts have to get rewritten, because half the time they get leaked on the internet. I don't even know how that's possible. Does someone take screenshots or get a hold of the script and just throw it on the internet? I don't know how things like movies or books get leaked on the internet before they're supposed to be public.
I know, I'm sorry. Forgive me?
Maybe that's something I should look into. Let's get inside. It's alright. Let's not make a big deal. I mean, Sarah can make a big deal if she wants, but I'm cool with it. I reached out and felt for Josh's shoulder, giving it a pat. Josh took my hand and gently gave it a thankful squeeze, making me smile. He just wanted to make my dream come true. It was exciting for both of us, since he was both my best friend and my editor. And he'll probably be less critical, like in a negative way, because he's your best friend. I turned my head to Sarah, nodding to her. Come on, let's get inside. I gently pulled on Sarah's arm, motioning her to guide me inside. The nerves inside would fade with each step I'd take. Silently, Sarah walked with me towards the chatter of the gala, with the footsteps of Josh not far behind me. Whatever he shared, I had to be ready to be questioned. We stepped into a space that sure sounded like the inside of a chapel. Tile or marble lined the floor, echoing the sound of Sarah's heels up from the surface. Josh helped us through the space and told us the gala was an outdoor event. If it was an outdoor event, it wouldn't sound like marble or tile, would it? I sighed a bit to myself. At least I'd have fresh air to help me calm down. The moment we stepped outside, so they were inside, I guess, and then they stepped outside? I don't know, I'm confused. I could feel the subtle pressure of eyes staring into my form from all directions. Has anyone noticed that form and from are basically the same word, just the O and R reversed? It's weird how some words in the American language can spell like different words, and they all mean different things. We didn't make any sort of grand entrance, but the people around us and ahead of us were cautious as to who I was, turning to gaze at me and stare me down. Part of me felt like retreating. I couldn't lock eyes with anyone, nor could I take in my surroundings visually. My other senses became almost overloaded as my nerves tangled from the stares out on me. Was I hallucinating? Maybe I was. Maybe my body was imagining danger for the sake of scaring me back to my apartment. Still, I couldn't help but recognize the feeling of being stared at in my body. Sarah?
Yeah?
Why are people staring at us? Nothing. I'm curious. I had to know. I had to affirm my senses, and Sarah was the one with the ability to see.
Yeah, everyone in the room has their eyes on me.
It's because Josh talked about my book? As much as the thought made my nerves jump around, I was thankful that she was honest with me. I nodded to her before taking a breath. Sarah began to guide me further into the event area, where I became surrounded by hushed whispers and stares. I gulped silently. This really wasn't how I intended to return. I must have looked like some sort of jerk wearing sunglasses at night. I had to wear them, though. I didn't need to go. Oh my gosh! I didn't need to open my eyes, and letting people stare at my closed eyes was, according to Sarah, awkward. Reading this whole game's awkward. They were pretty. Oh my gosh! They were pretty generic shades, though. So I hoped that I didn't look entirely like a pompous jerk. Eventually, we stopped with Sarah pulling my arm back to halt my walk. I heard the soft fizz of drinks near us, as someone, assumingly a server, spoke.
Did you care for a drink?
I shook my head. As much as a drink sounded good, I was in the mood for a drink at the moment. We had only just arrived. As I felt someone reach around me, I scooted to the side to give the person room.
Relax, it's just me. You may not want champagne, but I always make sure to have a glass in my hand.
Make a joke? Nod. Oh, come on, I don't know. I smirked. It's champagne. I couldn't tell. Looks like fizzy water to me.
Huh? How could you tell? Are you sure? Wow. I cannot believe I fell for that.
Sarah. I let out a small laugh as Sarah let out a groan at my blind joke. I had to relax somehow, so making a couple of bad jokes was the perfect ways to make my body ease up. Galas were meant to be fun. If I couldn't enjoy the scenery, I had to adjust my enjoyment. I had to relax. Alright, I think we'll read one more after this and we'll close out the episode. Soon enough, I wasn't just gazed upon anymore. I was approached by random people being asked about my work and about my book. I didn't spoil anything. As a writer, you never want to give spoiler details about your stories before they are finished. I took pride in keeping every secret about the story mere. My gosh, I took pride in keeping every secret about the story mere secrets. I was introduced to fellow writers, editors, publishers, and readers. As time marched on without a care. There were so many things I missed about social events. Meeting new people was one of them. Each new voice I heard, I tried to memorize. Since I couldn't compliment their outfits or face, I settled for the way they talked and the way they laughed. And with that being read, I think we're going to close this out. I think we're going to close this episode of Blind Love. I hope you guys had fun. And I'll see you next time.